Welcome to Module 2 of our course on Contemporary Strategic Studies. In Module 1, we explored the key strategic doctrines of the Cold War and the ways in which the United States, the Soviet Union, Western Europe, and China developed their military and political strategies after 1945. Now, we turn to the second half of our discussion, focusing on the technological and political transformations that reshaped global strategy from the Second World War through the Cold War and into the contemporary era. This module has three main objectives: to examine the development of weapons technology after 1945 and its impact on global strategy, to analyze the Soviet reforms of perestroika and glasnost, and their role in altering the international strategic landscape, to discuss strategic thinking in the post-Cold War period, when the bipolar order collapsed and new global security challenges emerged. By the end of this module, you will understand not only the doctrines of the Cold War but also how changes in weapons, politics, and ideology led to the redefinition of strategy in our contemporary world. 1. Developments in weapons technology since the Second World War. The Second World War closed with the detonation of atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. These events marked the dawn of the nuclear age and transformed the nature of strategy forever. 1.1 The atomic bomb. Initially, the atomic bomb was an American monopoly. The destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki demonstrated the sheer power of this new weapon. Its existence immediately forced policymakers to rethink traditional military doctrine. War was no longer about gradual attrition or industrial superiority alone, it could be decided in an instant by the use of nuclear weapons. The presence of the bomb introduced both fear and caution into international relations. 1.2 Thermonuclear weapons. In 1952, the United States tested the first hydrogen bomb, a thermonuclear weapon far more destructive than the atomic bomb. The Soviet Union followed in 1953. These weapons magnified the stakes of conflict. Whereas Hiroshima had killed tens of thousands, thermonuclear weapons had the capacity to annihilate entire cities and populations. The arrival of thermonuclear devices reinforced the logic of deterrence and created the condition known as mutually assured destruction, MAD. 1.3 Intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. The late 1950s saw the development of ICBMs, capable of delivering nuclear warheads across continents within minutes. The Soviet launch of Sputnik in 1957 demonstrated the ability to build long-range rockets, shocking the United States and intensifying the arms race. ICBMs, combined with submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs, ensured that both the United States and the Soviet Union could strike each other even after a surprise attack. This created a secure second strike capability, a cornerstone of deterrence. 1.4 Multiple independently targetable reentry vehicles, MIRVs. By the late 1960s, both superpowers had developed MIRVs, which allowed a single missile to carry multiple warheads, each aimed at a different target. MIRVs dramatically increased destructive capacity and made missile defenses nearly impossible, since intercepting one missile no longer meant neutralizing its threat. The effect was to deepen the arms race, as both sides sought to maintain or exceed the capabilities of the other. 1.5 Conventional weapons and precision technology. Although nuclear weapons dominated strategic thinking, conventional weapons technology also advanced rapidly. The Vietnam War showcased the use of helicopters, napalm, and air mobility as central components of modern warfare. Later, the development of precision-guided munitions, often called smart bombs, during the Gulf War of 1991 demonstrated that conventional weapons could achieve strategic effects once thought possible only with nuclear arms. The shift toward precision and information technology paved the way for what some call the revolution in military affairs, RMA, the idea that advanced technology fundamentally changes how wars are fought. 1.6 Anti-ballistic missile systems and space technology. Another critical development was the pursuit of missile defense. The US and the Soviet Union experimented with anti-ballistic missile (ABM) systems to protect their territories from nuclear strikes. In 1972, The ABM Treaty limited these systems, recognizing that unlimited missile defenses might destabilize deterrence by encouraging one side to strike first. In the 1980s, President Reagan launched the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, often nicknamed Star Wars, which aimed to use space-based systems to intercept nuclear missiles. While technologically ambitious and controversial, SDI demonstrated how space and high technology were becoming integrated into strategic planning. 1.7 Overall impact on strategy. These technological developments shaped strategy by reinforcing the logic of deterrence, ensuring that neither superpower could realistically hope to win a nuclear war. At the same time, advances in conventional weapons ensured that limited conflicts could still be fought without escalating to full nuclear exchanges. Technology thus became both a stabilizer, by deterring major war, and a destabilizer, by fueling arms races and constant fear of escalation. 2. Perestroika and Glasnost, Soviet reforms and strategic change. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union faced immense internal pressures. Its economy was stagnating, its political system was rigid, and the cost of sustaining military competition with the United States was becoming unbearable. 2.1 Perestroika. Perestroika, meaning restructuring, was introduced by Mikhail Gorbachev in the mid-1980s as a program of economic reform. It aimed to modernize the Soviet economy by introducing elements of market mechanisms, decentralizing control, and increasing efficiency. For strategic studies, Perestroika signaled a recognition that the Soviet Union could no longer afford the relentless arms race with the United States. It was both an economic and a strategic shift, as resources were redirected away from military buildup. 2.2 Glasnost. Glasnost, meaning openness, was a policy that promoted greater transparency, freedom of expression, and openness in government. This policy transformed the internal political climate of the Soviet Union, loosening censorship and allowing public debate. It also encouraged new thinking about foreign policy, emphasizing diplomacy, cooperation, and reducing tensions with the West. Glasnost made it possible for Gorbachev to pursue arms reduction agreements, such as the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces (INF) Treaty of 1987, which eliminated an entire class of nuclear weapons. 2.3 Strategic implications. Together, Perestroika and Glasnost reshaped the global strategic landscape. The Soviet Union moved away from confrontation toward cooperation. The reforms undermined the rigid bipolar order of the Cold War. As the Soviet Union liberalized and eventually collapsed, the strategic framework that had dominated world politics since 1945 dissolved as well. 3. Strategic thinking in the post-Cold War period. The end of the Cold War did not mean the end of strategy. Instead, it required a complete rethinking of global security. 3.1 Unipolarity and U.S. dominance. With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the United States emerged as the world's sole superpower. Strategic thinking shifted from deterrence between superpowers to managing regional conflicts, humanitarian interventions, and the spread of weapons of mass destruction. The Gulf War of 1991 demonstrated U.S. military dominance, highlighting precision-guided weapons, global mobility, and technological superiority. 3.2 New threats. Post-Cold War strategy has been defined by new and unconventional threats. Terrorism, the attacks of September 11, 2001, demonstrated the global reach of non-state actors. Counterterrorism became central to U.S. strategy, leading to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Proliferation, concerns over nuclear proliferation in countries like North Korea and Iran reshaped deterrence strategies. Cybersecurity, with the rise of information technology, cyber warfare and information dominance became new domains of strategy. Regional conflicts, ethnic wars in the Balkans and genocides in Africa showed that instability could arise not just from superpower rivalry but from state collapse and internal conflict. 3.3 Multipolarity and emerging powers. In recent decades, the world has moved toward a more multipolar order. China's rise as an economic and military power, Russia's resurgence under Vladimir Putin, and the growing influence of regional powers like India have complicated U.S. dominance. Strategic thinking today involves balancing great power competition, managing alliances, and addressing global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and migration. 3.4 Continuity and change in strategy. Even as new challenges emerge, many Cold War concepts remain relevant. Deterrence still applies, but now it must account for rogue states, cyber threats, and new technologies such as artificial intelligence and hypersonic missiles. The central question remains the same: how can states ensure security in an uncertain and dangerous world? The answers, however, are constantly evolving. Conclusion to Module 2. In this module, we explored how technological, political, and ideological changes reshaped global strategy. Weapons technology, from atomic bombs to precision-guided munitions, transformed warfare and reinforced deterrence. Soviet reforms under Perestroika and Glasnost marked the beginning of the end of the Cold War and shifted strategic thought toward cooperation. Finally, we considered the post-Cold War world, where unipolarity, terrorism, cyber threats, and the rise of new powers have redefined strategic studies for the 21st century. When combined with the doctrines and policies examined in Module 1, this completes our survey of contemporary strategic studies. You should now have a comprehensive understanding of how strategy evolved from the Cold War era to the complex and unpredictable world we live in today.